Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about, in my opinion, the greediest zodiac sign. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Anyway, well, first off, I don't think Aries is the greediest zodiac sign. Aries could actually be very generous and magnanimous. They're one of the more generous zodiac signs, I believe, in the zodiac. They will often be there for a loan if you need one. Maybe given that Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, maybe they'll be the first one, or in a lot of instances that may help you out in time of some monetary need. Now, Aries is really, and especially if somebody's really down and out monetarily, Aries will often be there to help them, and often on a monetary or financial level. Now, Aries really can be very aggressive and assertive and very forceful, and this energy may be applied to helping others on a financial level and even through their possessions or resources or what have you. So I would say definitely not Aries as far as the greediest zodiac sign. Now, the next sign I want to talk about, well, Gemini. Well, Gemini, as Edra says, I wouldn't say definitely no to them because they are, Gemini is a sign, they're very multifaceted, very versatile, often have manifold interests. They just simply don't have the persistence and really to be focused on monetary needs. Do they have really any persistence in anything? Really, the answer is generally resounding no. And they really, the thing about them is they are more about communication, self-expression, articulating things. They often, and these things often take precedence over monetary matters. So for me, for Gemini, it's just something that they don't really put much emphasis on. It's not something they really accentuate or emphasize in their life. So Gemini is so much about variety, and they are not really, the money is generally not much of a concern for them. So anyway, next sign I want to talk about the zodiac sign Cancer. Now, in very negative manifestations, Cancer sometimes can be one of those compulsive hoarders, or at least borderline that they often, they could be a candidate in a way to pay, if you may perceive them as one for this because they have that tendency and proclivity to hoard and to cling to items. But the reality is with Cancer, though, it's not so much that Cancer is really greedy. I think a lot of times Cancer may just have the tendency to hold on to things that are just very nostalgic. It doesn't have to do with avarice or greed. They often will hold on to things that are connected with some sentimental value, I believe, something that might be family related, and really it could just be about something where things that really allow them to in their mind to pay homage to their family, their ancestry, and it keeps them connected with the past. They are ones. But I would say that Cancer, no, is not the greediest zodiac sign. Now, anyway, the next sign I want to talk about, well, Leo. Well, Leo, I would put ahead of Aries actually a little bit in terms of being actually the most generous and magnanimous of the zodiac signs. So it really, for me to say Leo would be the greediest, I would say that's a resounding no. They are often now, the thing about it is, Leos could be rather boastful about the money they make, and but they are often willing to relinquish it at the same rate it is made. Now, Leo can actually be very extravagant in terms of their handling of money, and actually, they may, in some point, need monetary assistance as well. They may not be. It doesn't have to do with being greedy, but sometimes Leo can actually have some difficulty really living within their own income. And the thing about it is they may borrow, there's some Leos that may borrow money from time to time from others because it's a lot of it could be attributed to the debt that they accumulate due to exorbitant spending habits, unfortunately. So Leo is definitely far from the greediest zodiac sign. So anyway, the next sign I want to talk about is Virgo. Now, Virgo is a sign that could be very frugal. They could be downright parsimonious. but they are not the sign that is really about being greedy and being overly acquisitive or what have you. They are Virgo can be rather tight-fisted in terms of relinquishing funds, but it does not mean that they are overly avaricious or greedy. Virgos can be workaholics. They are the kind of Virgos are the kind of people that could work for a very good period to make an adequate amount of money, and really in being so frugal, their frugality often enables them to save a lot, but they're not about accumulating exorbitant funds. But at the same time, they could be tough to get money from when you may need something because of the frugality of the sign. Virgo, don't get me wrong, they often have very good dispositions, can be very nice people. They're generally not malicious people, but they often can be very tough when it comes to loaning somebody money. So they're really, they're just, but it is due to the fact that Virgos can often be very worrisome in nature, and they just, I think sometimes a lot of it is just attributed to them being afraid if they let their money go that they won't have any for themselves when they actually really need it at very important times. So anyway, but I say no as far as Virgo goes. Now the next sign I want to talk about is Libra. Now, Libra is a sign, of course, they are connected with balance, fairness, and equilibrium. They like things to be equitable, and they are often very fair-minded in terms of dispersing funds in connection with friends and family, people that are prominent in their life. And the thing about it is they may hold on to a fair amount for themselves, but generally not a very large percentage in general really in terms of their overall income. Now, but like I stated, they are very fair-minded, and they like to disperse things evenly, and this can apply and pertain to things of a monetary nature. Now, they may be very adept and proficient at balancing the budget, so to speak, and really, and if you actually called them out and said they were being unfair in any way, shape, or form, and even if it's something connected with something financial, they may be really, I guess, they might be really bewildered by that statement. Because it's a sign that often they epitomize fairness and balance. So I would say definitely no to Libra as far as the greediest zodiac sign goes. Now, as far as Scorpio goes, well, Scorpios can be masters at manipulation, and this could be regarding resources and money, but they are the sign that's associated with shared resources. They often are very good at managing money that is connected with them and somebody else's. But they are not necessarily, I don't see them as the most greedy zodiac sign. They often like to control things of a monetary nature. Scorpio can be about manipulation, and they may do things like, well, you won't get such and such money if you don't do such and such for me, but that doesn't really necessarily, I don't think that manifests in them being the greediest sign or greed necessarily, but they often, when getting something from Scorpio, there usually is, a lot of times there could be a catch, because Scorpio is about their control and their power, and they often want you to make sure that you're doing something in order to get, if it's like a loan, say, but they're not. But I don't think Scorpio is the most greedy zodiac sign. But even though they are, the Scorpio often is about control in terms of things of a monetary nature or finances, which is like they like to be in control and have power in other aspects and elements of their life. But no, I say no to Scorpio. So anyway, next sign up. Well, as far as Sagittarius goes, I think Sagittarius, is really, they certainly would not be a viable candidate for the greediest zodiac sign, because Sagittarius, they could often be very philanthropic and benevolent. Sagittarius could be dominated by just being that perpetual learner, the incorrigible optimist, and and often meandering. They often have a hard time stabilizing themselves in terms of a residence. They often are very enamored with traveling. So it's not a sign that's really dominated by anything of a monetary nature. So it would be very hard for me to think that they would be the Sagittarius people would be really greedy or avaricious. They are a friend of mine, a pastor. He has a Sagittarius ascendant, and sadly, to my understanding, he wound up actually getting in debt because, and maybe even a near state of destitute or destitution, whatever the word may be, and because of his philanthropy in monetary matters. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But no, I mean, Sagittarius is very, I mean, they could be that kind of that, sometimes Sagittarius could have that reckless gambler syndrome, what I call it, and they are not ones about holding on to money really, and they're also they're a sign or really or wanting to accumulate an overabundance of it. Now Sagittarius can also though they could be very good in terms of a loan. They could be rather generous because they don't really think that much often about things of a monetary nature. But and a lot of times Sagittarius will not even want the money back. But the thing is now, conversely, though, if you're dealing with Sagittarius, and the thing is, if you've loaned them money, they might get a little exasperated if you're coming to them and clamoring for that money back. So it works the other way too, though, a lot of times with Sagittarius. But no to Sagittarius. So next sign. Well, as far as Capricorn goes, they could be very economical. They could be very business savvy. They often have very good business acumen. They will often hold on to their money as opposed to spending. A lot of it is attributed to a lot of prudence and caution in their nature, and that could include things of a financial nature. But they're not, I mean, they're obviously not the most extravagant zodiac sign on average. But at the same time, Capricorn will often, I've noticed, I mean, with Capricorn, I believe they can often go all out if it's something connected with their family, especially, and and they may actually be very generous as far as family matters go. Now, the thing about it is, if somebody, I mean, the zodiac sign Aries often falls on the fourth house cusp in a solar or natal chart for Capricorn. So I think a lot of that is that, that's where a lot of things of an impulsive nature, impetuous nature may come out for Capricorn, and that can include matters with family because that's the fourth house. Now, and that could actually include things of a monetary nature. And there's really and the thing about Capricorn as well, I mean, they are one of the more frugal signs. I mean, they are an earth sign, but they're not, I don't really see them as being the greediest zodiac sign. A lot of what they do is they will often be making money in order to have in order to really raise their stature in life. I guess you could say, their position in life, their social status, having a good career, attaining a position of authority. The money can go hand in hand with that, but I don't think it's so much about the accumulation of funds as it is and Capricorn getting some prominent position in life. Now, so I say no to Capricorn anyway. Next sign. Well, Aquarius can be very selfless. They can have very humanitarian instincts. They're often more concerned about helping others and doing things on an environmental or global level. They are certainly not a sign, I don't think, that is overly engrossed or dominated by things of a monetary or financial nature. They often can emphasize things that are very humane, innovation, doing things for the collective good of others, and things that are very group related. Now, many of you may have heard of an iconic singer, Phil Collins, who has an Aquarius sun. He said in some song that he sang something like, you can't take it with you when you go, and he says, I'd rather leave it. Now that, I mean, that really, if that doesn't epitomize the Aquarius nature and energy, I'm not sure what does. Aquarians are more about selfless giving. They are the ones that will give often of their time and their resources, and sometimes it could be things of a monetary nature as well. And anyway, so I'd say definitely no to Aquarius being the greediest zodiac sign. So the next sign I want to talk about, Pisces. Well, Pisces, like Sagittarius, they could be very philanthropic. Pisces is the sign connected with self-sacrifice. Material possessions, things of a monetary nature, could be very insignificant to Pisces. Pisces may often, frequently want to save the world, and this sometimes could be connected with actually relinquishing funds. They are just not ones that are about having this desire to keep accumulating money and constantly doing this. They are Pisces can be very compassionate and often help those that are less fortunate than themselves, such as the impoverished, the oppressed, the hungry, or the homeless. And I mean, Pisces is about really they will often, I mean, Pisces may often disdain suffering and will often help others to prevent this, and that could include being generous on a monetary financial level. So I would say definitely no to Pisces as being the greediest zodiac sign. Now, the sign I'm finally going to get to, I believe, is, I mean, unequivocally the greediest zodiac sign on average, and I'm not saying they're all like this, but they have the greatest propensity toward this, is the zodiac sign Taurus. Now, Taurus, there's a lot of Taurus people that simply can't make enough money. Taurus may often want to generate income just for the simple sake of having it. Now, Taurus, of course, it corresponds with the second house in astrology, the house that is connected with money. Now, and also it is ruled by Venus, and that is associated with monetary things and possessions. Now, the thing about Taurus, too, they could be very acquisitive. They're often, I mean, sadly, you have some Taurus people that could be very materialistic. I knew somebody that I went to school with, and likely, depending on time of birth, his sun was at 29 degrees Taurus. So, I mean, I see this as really like that full culmination and energy of that sign. And he would say, he said, he would make statements to me at least one time, things that were which showed a very materialistic side of this person, unfortunately. And anyway, and the thing about it is, I mean, one example when I look at a Taurus energy, that really it really almost exemplifies this energy is, you might have heard of this prolific boxer by the name of Floyd Money Mayweather, who has a Taurus moon. He constantly, I mean, flaunts his money and can't seem to make enough of it. I'm sure you've seen him do this, whether it's on pictures or whether it's on videos. And the thing about it too is, it was funny. There was one time, I don't think I'm really that bad right now as far as things, as far as being greedy or avaricious or what have you. But as many of you may know, I have Taurus rising. There was a time when I was a kid, my grandfather had said something to me to the effect, yeah, that I always wanted money for something. Now, it's funny. Taurus rising, the publishing executive, I guess that's what his position, but you might want to check on that, is Steve Forbes, who of course I believe is a millionaire, I'm sure multi-millionaire at least. He has Taurus rising. He certainly has more money than one can conceivably handle. Now, I'm not saying that he's necessarily very greedy or has this constant incessant need to be making money, but he certainly is somebody that is not going to be ever in much need of actually accumulating funds. And I mean, Taurus is that money sign. And one example I would say that might have taken this Taurus energy in terms of that greedy side of Taurus to a very distorted level is that Ponzi schemer Bernie Madoff. I mean, he is a classic example of Taurus energy in a very negative manifestation. It's like Taurus energy gone bad. I mean, you talk about somebody that might have been really connected with extreme greed and avarice. He has Bernie Madoff in his chart. He has 4 planets and the midheaven at Taurus. The midheaven is at 22 degrees Taurus, a critical degree. Venus in Taurus, it's in its dignity, but it's at a critical 29 degrees. And this really, that 29 degrees of Venus Taurus right there, I think that could suggest very distorted enjoyment and love of money. And really, and really, this is where that avarice and greed perhaps came out, and part of the reason that his money, whatever he was making, he was never quite appeased. He could not make enough money, and with that Ponzi scheme he had. Now, that Venus and Taurus at 29 degrees made a tight square to his very flamboyant Leo rising. This probably made this come out in a very attention-seeking way, in a very flamboyant manner, and really a grandiose manner as well, which gained him, sadly, a lot of notoriety and recognition for this. Now, and the thing is, I want to just say too that this is not to insinuate or imply that all Taurus people are greedy. There's many others, many Taurus people that really that have helped, that have actually used their wealth of their knowledge to make money, to help others and increase others' ability to make money, or their financial acumen. Sadly, I mean, given that in a solar or natal chart, the zodiac sign Pisces often falls on the 11th house cusp for Taurus. And this is something where, I mean, Taurus sadly can often be duped by friends that might be greedy, by duplicitous, deceptive friends and acquaintances that might want to capitalize on Taurus's wealth. And the thing is, this is something too where also what I want to talk about is, again, that not all Tauruses are about greed. They're not all about, acquiring wealth and things of money. But the thing about it is, well, though, I do believe that most Taurus people, what the commonality is with Taurus people is that there could be strong desire to make money, but it doesn't mean that they're all greedy. There's a lot of Taurus people that I believe are willing to share their resources with people, depending on what they have, proportionally with what they have, perhaps. But at the same time, keep in mind, I think there may be a misconception with some people that just because someone has Taurus prominent in their chart, say they have the sun, moon, or ascendant in Taurus, that they're going to be prosperous or affluent or what have you. No, the constant with Taurus people, majority of Taurus, again, there could be that strong desire to accumulate money and to have, and to really have, so they could at least have the basics in life, the fundamental things such as having their peace, their home, and really having and just having their food, the things that they really need, that are part of their enjoyment in life, things that are about subsistence. But they're not really, but at the same time, I don't think, I mean, it'd be very hard to say, just to stereotype and say, well, all Taurus people are greedy. A lot of it can depend on the aspects with Venus. Somebody that, say, has Venus making an adverse aspect to Jupiter in their chart could be an indicator that somebody might have a distorted need for wealth. I mean, that could be one example. Or if they're, say, even if their second house cusp made an adverse aspect to Jupiter, perhaps. And also, I mean, you might have some, I mean, Taurus people, sadly, like you have that Bernie Madoff involved in that infamous Ponzi scheme that really took this. I mean, took an ingenious, basically an idea of and really used this financial ingenuity, perhaps towards something very negative, toward duping people out of their money. So, I mean, sadly, so anyway. And in this, obviously, played a role, I mean, with him making money, I mean, fraudulently. I mean, just looking at, especially, I think a lot of it had to do with that Venus, that aspect he had with that Venus to, or I should say that Venus at 29 degrees in his chart, at that critical degree of Taurus. And to me, that really showed, I mean, that was where that might have not been not necessarily the point where he made this money, doing so in a fraudulently. There may have been something else in his chart that indicated that, but what it told me, that was definitely perhaps an indicator that he just couldn't make enough money. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for what I believe is the greediest zodiac sign. And stay tuned next time, where I'm going to be giving you my Virgo January 2019 horoscope forecast. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.